white, and because that's my choice. And so when I advocate this, that's what I'm advocating. So what I advocate is that we have some area where we can secede and we can start our own nation once again that springs from the church. The church, as it did in the colonies, started the colonies. The Baptist Church in Rhode Island started Rhode Island and ultimately becomes a sovereign nation. Right. It has to start with the church first, and then it goes out into the civil area, having, of course, separation, that our church is not part of the government, but that our Bible dictates the principles of that government. Okay? So that's what I advocate. I advocate separation. I advocate segregation that we have a white nation, and the only other race that can live among us, but they will not be allowed to race mix with us and marry, are the Jews, are the racial Jews. And I don't mean Talmudic Jews. We will not have any Talmud in our country because it calls Jesus Christ a bastard and his mother a whore. That right there, you're out. There won't be any canon law in our country. That's out. We won't have any Jesuit immoral theologians. That's out. We're not having any Quran. That's out. Those are all horrible, oppressive, religious documents that ultimately persecute us. So therefore, our final document will be the Reformation Bible with its underlying original languages. Yes?
How does a person like myself, research a particular person that we suspect to be Jesuit or Knight of Malta or something like that? Like, I want to research Harlan Horton, for instance. How do I find out what he's a part of?
I get on the internet. I go to the Knights of Malta. See what you can find in that area. Try to find connections to Jesuit universities.
Well, he graduated from Bob Jones.
Okay, if you graduated from Bob Jones, you want to find out if he's a Mason. We know Bob Jones III is a Mason.
Right.
So, and we know that Charles Sumner is a Jesuit coadjutor, but constantly pushing Westcott and Hort.
Right.
Something.
Zondervan Prince.
Zondervan Prince is owned by Rupert Murdoch.
Rupert Murdoch.
Okay.
Harper.
So you have to connect them with their connections, because this is the value of the doctrine of separation. We separate from anything that might implicate us with these men. And they don't. And they know the doctrine of separation. And when they don't separate, then as a result, you can tie them to it.
Just like new guy Gates, of course,
Georgetown.
Yeah, that's
the Book and Snake? He's Book and Snake.
Here he is, Georgetown University, taking the place of Rumsfeld, who spent years at Georgetown, who was appointed, who was friends with Clinton, who went to Georgetown.
Yes, who was friends with Tommy Lee Jones, who went to Georgetown.
Sure.
Who was roommates with Al Gore.
Al Gore?
Al Gore and Tommy Lee Jones were roommates.
At Georgetown.
They were roommates. There was only 2 people in a room in Georgetown, and they were roommates for 2 of their 4 years.
And see, now you see the Men in Black, the movie Men in Black, they're Jesuits.
Yeah.
Sure.
How about one last thing on Alberto? I mean, with all the reading material you've seen, what's your final understanding of them?
Alberto Rivera was exactly who he said he was. He was a Jesuit in the 4th vow. And in fact, my friend Greg Szymanski, who I've done radio broadcasts with on arcticbeacon.org, he's had Mary Rivera on last week. So you want to listen to his interviews with her and Leo Zagami, who's a Muslim, but he was a Roman noble, Illuminati P2, and he confirms everything that I am saying, that the Vatican brought down the World Trade Center so they could have a crusade against Islam. And he came right out of P2 in the Monte Carlo lunch. Yes.
Seeing that America has no more than, what would you say, 10 years, what would you say we should do to prepare for it?
Pray.
Yeah, I would pray and seek the Lord about it, but remember that we need to do something. Our forefathers left Europe and came here to escape the Inquisition.
Not to hide.
Not to hide. They came there to start fresh.
Right.
Because after all, we'd been killed for 200 years. Every city in Europe was burning our brethren every day in order to phase. So what do I think we ought to do? I think we ought to find a place where we can be white, where we're not going to be followed by these Roman Catholic Mexicans, where we can escape the black savagery that's going on in every major city in the north, and probably down here too. as opposed to the civil blacks, many of whom are Bible-believing Christian people, and I feel sorry for them, but they're going to have to deal with this their way. We need to go to a place where we can be white, have a white area, where we can have our own food, where we can have our own weapons for our own protection, where we can begin to start fresh and anew. Because if we stay in this position, they are going to round us up and take us to the concentration camps.
That's right. You're absolutely
You
right.
heard about the group of people, the 230 families in Idaho? They took over a whole county.
No.
That's Jack McClam.
I mean, they're not born again. They're not. The Bible isn't their like forefront, but they have the idea. I think
They have the right idea, you know, and I agree with that. You see, here's one of my points. All of the West is going to be taken by the Chinese.
Done.
They're done.
Well, wouldn't that be better to try and fight than people that look like you? At least you'd know your enemy. And in some of those mountainous areas are the only parts of America that are
There's
uncharted.
plenty of that in New England. I say New England is the safest place in Nova Scotia, and those areas up and through there.
Oh, you're saying the Canadian.
That Canadian area, and up in Vermont and Maine and New Hampshire, and those kind of, it's white. It's unfortunately it's cold, but it's in that area that I say we're the best off in any part of the country. All of the West is going to be given to the Chinese. The South is going to be given to the Muslims. And then they'll conduct their inquisition here for another 30, 40 years if the Lord tarries. And they're going to do to the people here what they did to the Russians for the last 70 years. So I say we need to be up in the northern parts. Where it's cold, where white people are better off from the cold anyway.
Can you eat the fish out of the water?
Eat the fish. We can do that. And I've seriously been thinking about Canada. I just don't know. I've been praying about it.
Yeah, it's good water supply. Well, Eric, I put my prayers to action. I bought a couple lots up in Nova Scotia last summer. Went up to take a look at them on the water. So anybody needs a lot of water, of course it's seawater, so you're going to have to find a way of purifying it. But nevertheless, I have 2 parcels up there.
Okay, here's why I think Nova Scotia is a good place. Because it will never be given to the Chinese, and it will never be given to the Muslims.
It's too cold for them.
It's cold, and it's also part of England.
Ah, it's Commonwealth of England.
It's Commonwealth of England. And remember, they have the largest port on the east coast of Nova Scotia. They have a huge aircraft carrier there. That's Halifax, that's right. They will never give that area to Rome. And what I see they're going to do here is what they did to Germany. They're going to partition this country. The Chinese will get the West and the Russians. The Muslims and the Chinese will get the South. And the Northeast is going to be taken by Europe when Europe arrives here.
As it once was.
As it once was.
How about the Midwest, though?
So Florida will be Arab,
That's
or
a
would
big
you say
floodplain.
Florida will be full of
Mexican?
Mexicans, Arabs. Yeah.
Mississippi River, it's a big floodplain.
Yeah, it's a big floodplain.
You don't want to do it.
So that's what I say. And see, the other thing, too, you guys are young. You guys have wives to choose yet. You need to be able to be mobile. And that's out of Nova Scotia into Europe. The future for these children is not here. The future for these children is in Europe. Because after this crusade, they're going to build Europe. They're going to have a revived Holy Roman Empire. The euro will be the standard of the world. And they're going to solidify the finance of Europe more than any other place. It has more people. It has the greatest armies. Germany will be the center of the new revived Europe. It will be the economic hub of the world. Whoever controls Germany controls Europe. Whoever controls Europe controls the world. And so I say, for you young people, you want to think about Canada, Nova Scotia, and when you're able, to Scotland or to somewhere like that. Because this place, especially the U.S., is going to be the killing floor for the 21st century. This is going to be the place. That's why they brought all the Muslims in our major cities. That's why they bring all these Mexicans up here, George Bush and Vicente Fox and the others. They brought them all up here. And the blacks, they're in deep trouble.
You ever been at Dearborn Heights?
Really?
Now, of course.
Oh, yeah, they want to
Because you see, the Mexicans are going to displace all the blacks as laborers. What are the blacks going to do? They're going to go to war. And when that happens, there'll be a race war between the Mexicans and the blacks. Maybe whites will even be involved, and that'll justify opening the camps and sending them all there. Remember, Lenin said, to have a successful revolution, you have to move the middle class. So what have they done to us whites?